We're about to get started. Good morning.
Good morning.
You can do better than that. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Whose first time is it? First time at 1 Million Cups? All right. Where are my repeat offenders? All right. Hi, my name is Crystal Price. I'm your MC today, and welcome to 1 Million Cups Chicago, and we are a team working at TechNexus. Please scan the QR code here. There's some that are also around the tables and on the side screens. We have a weird little split situation here, so it's easier to get one of those or one that's on the table. This is just for the Kauffman Foundation to know that you're here. These programs are grant funded. They're not going to spam you or send you any kind of weird information. It just lets them know that we have a room full of people who are ready to hear about entrepreneurship in Chicago.
Yeah.
And again, we are at Team Working by TechNexus. I'm going to go through a bunch of QR codes here. And this one is if you're interested in co-working here long term. After 1 Million Cups today, you are free to co-work here for the remainder of the day. Enjoy some more coffee, enjoy the bevy machine, and come and hang out. Thank you to our coffee sponsor who just walked in, U3 Coffee. Round of applause for Betsy. So U3 Coffee has been our supporter pretty much from the get-go with their coffee. They're based in Forest Park, startup as well. And they have been supporting entrepreneurs across many venues, including 1871. So we're excited to have them and the coffee here today. And this month's coffee creamer sponsor is Paydays. And thanks to Jen Critchlow, who's not here this morning. But we know that people don't always like their coffee black. So we can thank Jen and Paydays for making sure that you have something to put in your coffee. If you're interested in having your company represented here and sponsoring Creamer for a month, you can scan the QR code here or come talk to me, and we'll make sure that you can get your name up on the screen too. All right, I've heard a lot of people talk about how do they get to be presenters for 1 Million Cups. Come talk to any one of us who has on one of these hats, one of the 1 Million Cups shirts, anyone who's making coffee, or you can scan one of these QR codes to be a presenter. Also follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram to let you know the latest and greatest about who's presenting, what 1 Million Cups is doing, and much more information about the entrepreneurship community in Chicago. Shy IRL is a digest that comes out every Monday from the Chicago Tech Collaborative, who also helps to put on 1 Million Cups here. If you want to know what's going on in tech and entrepreneurship without having to hunt around every single site, Luma, Eventbrite, or what have you, Shy IRL is the way to go. All right. So before we get started here, just to talk a little bit about 1 Million Cups in general, it has been established by the Kauffman Foundation. We've been around for a little bit over a decade, and there are over 115, I think, chapters in the United States that all meet on Wednesday morning, just like this one. So consider yourself a part of a very esteemed group. Again, here's a QR code for registration, and we are going to give a standing ovation to Dan Hernandez coming to the stage.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
He's going to tell us about supporting suppers.
Thank you, Crystal. Appreciate it. Good morning, y'all. I'm Dan Hernandez. For those of you who may know me, this is another one of my entrepreneurial ventures. This one is a little bit different. It's my first organization where it's not purely focused on an innovative tech solution or something disrupting marketing techniques. This is simply called Supporting Suppers. So the problem is local businesses are needing support, right? Especially local. We all know great establishments that are fine dining, Michelin star restaurants. However, the local business actually needs our support more. And nowadays, these IRL events, people are longing for connection, right? So there's a need from local businesses that need people in the seats and people that want to meet their neighbors. And all together, that brings us to belonging. Right? So what if supporting a local restaurant was also a reason to meet your neighbors? So this is where my thought originally started. A meal creates both economic and human connection. And this phrase of there's always room at the table, I think we can all understand, but it's true. So that's where Supporting Suppers was created. So Supporting Suppers features an independent restaurant and it tells that owner's story. We bring together people over a meal, meet one another, and support the business. So simply, it starts off with the restaurant. We get a beat on their story and where, how they've come to be where they are. We get together a community around that restaurant, usually around 10 to 12 seats at the table. And this is a pre-decided menu decided by the restaurateur, usually around $30 to $35 that similar to, Chicago, what's it called, dinner week or restaurant week, right? I got tired of restaurant week, so I thought of this instead. And then we have supper together. That supper is authentic. We might be trying new cuisine. We might be meeting someone new, or we might just be going out of our shell and not working remotely all the time. And that leads to connection and overall local impact. So what does the local impact look like? So like I said, a couple steps to run through: identifying a local restaurant, their story, inviting the community, gathering around the table, the conversation, and then support the event and measure the impact. So this would be like a run of show, right? So 5:30 guests arrive, the owner can share their story, they start having supper together, conversation and connection happen, and this is a little bit more intentional on the Supporting Suppers end. If there's a handout card, if there's some questions to kind of steer the dialogue at the table. And then kind of like at 1MC, right, we always ask, how can we support you? This is where we ask all together, right, at the table, how can we support this business? And then the post-collaboration work in terms of media reviews, thank you notes, that's where we get to measure the impact beyond just the table. So what makes Supporting Suppers different is we're not traditional networking event. We're not a Yelp review crew. We don't charge a membership to attend a local restaurant meetup, but we are building community. We do storytelling, we create belonging, and we hopefully create local economic impact with lasting human connection. So like I said, the impact is always first, but there has to be sustainability in this model for it to work at scale. And so there's multiple revenue paths that we could take. My initial concept was just a small percentage of each dinner ticket that would help fund the efforts of Supporting Suppers. Obviously, all the listed revenue paths are something we could look at, but I think grants and strategic brand partners, there's a lot of IRL organizations and people that want to have real connection and gatherings. And when you look at different cultures, on Tuesday, it might be a local Caribbean cuisine. On Thursday, it might be, a local Indian spot. And this might be in different neighborhoods. So not only do we get to try different cuisines, meet different entrepreneurs, but we're also exploring different neighborhoods. So this is where we kind of think about the impact, right? For local businesses, it's how many restaurants we supported, dollars driven, repeat customers, and positive reviews off that experience. Participation on Supporting Suppers end is event attendance, first-time attendees, people that are returning, and then anyone that's willing to volunteer and support the initiative. And belonging, this is for everyone. We hope to build community partnerships and ongoing local support for that restaurant if they want to host another one, if they're looking for more introductions. I think the people that we bring to the table are there for a reason. When you hear, good people, good food, good connections, people are really intentionally driven to that. And this is how to interact. Again, this is not like a groundbreaking tech community product or a new marketing initiative, but simply you could just attend. You could bring a friend. You can nominate a restaurant that you want to host a supporting supper. And you can also become an ambassador. So this is a little bit V2, V3 of different cities or different communities having an ambassador there to represent and host a supporting supper in their community. And of course, looking forward, you can sponsor a dinner, something of that nature, and then connect us to other local partners. So this is kind of the concept of it in terms of starting in Chicago and then breaking out to other cities. I think the other cities will come naturally where people kind of get the sense of what we're doing and maybe want to see it in their neighborhoods. But originally, Chicago has more than enough for us to produce really fun experiences. So I will ask you to help us build the first table. We have not run this yet. We are looking at Fresh Sushi in Avondale, the end or beginning of September. And a couple of asks I have for you are introductions to restaurant owners, local entrepreneurs, people. Doesn't matter if they've been at it for years. All that I ask is that it's not, a large or conglomerate, right? I think they have enough of what they do. And marketing and storytelling partners, I wear a lot of hats in my day. I do experiential marketing for my full time. However, the storytelling and media content part of it, that's a lot of time and dedication. And I think I would love expertise and advice on that. And then honest feedback. What do you think about this idea? Is this something that we could fill 10 to 12 seats in? Are you interested when you first hear this idea, or is it something that maybe might not work for what reason? So thank you for having me today, and thank you for listening.
All right. So how have you been socializing this so far? Have you gotten any other restaurants on board, or is this like V0.5?
I think it's like 0.5.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I think throughout my tenure as a founder, the events I've been going to, I've sprinkled in this idea that I love going to nice dinners. I love seeing you all at dinners. But my core belief is that, like, if I continue this path, I maybe won't have done things I want to do in my life in terms of supporting local and spending that time and money at local restaurants. So I've communicated this across friends and partners, and everyone seems to be interested. And then a restaurateur, just anytime I mention this, they said, "Tell me when," because they would love 10 to 12 new customers at their table for a set menu price and an experience they can guide and expect. Right? It's not a random walk-in where saying, "Can you make it up?" And now the chef is running late because the core customers and new customers are all having a different experience. Yep.
I got two questions. When do you plan to start this, or when do you want to launch it? And then, what does it look like when people are presenting? Like, is it the business owner or the chef? Like, who's going to be telling the story of the restaurant? Is it I think you were saying it was kind of like a presentation kind of thing, where it's like right in during the dinner, or like how does that work?
First meetup, thanks for the question, would be first week of September. I was aiming for the last week of August, but I have different responsibilities then. So that would be the aim for it, at Fresh Sushi in Avondale. And then the kind of the run of show is super slick. Like, people sit down to get, comfortable at where they're at. And then the restaurateur or owner or manager comes out and just gives a 5-minute, overview of what they're about to experience, who they are, and why they're so thankful they're here. And that's all we need from that end. I think our part as supporting suppers, if we tell the story right before and after, I think a lot of those questions can be answered. Yep.
Where are you at on your tech stack at a high level?
No tech stack. It was just, I mean, for this, we're running at a loss as soon as you put too much time into it, right? So I think just building a form where people can handwrite as they get to the table, right? That one pager, I imagine, will have a little bit of the why, the restaurant, some overview, and like just a generality of what supporting suppers is. And it will have the corresponding questions. So when you're having a good meal, you may not always know what to talk about at the table. There will be some guidance for you there.
With me after I got tech stack for
I
you.
love it. Thank you. Yeah, Robert.
Are you familiar with Time
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So they've been very, of course, that the whole software application basically do this.
Yeah.
Of course, they're when you of course speak about local, they segment themselves as like River North and Wicker Logan, right? And so on that front, I guess the question or potential point of feedback is that how do you plan on, like I know the restaurants seem like a very emphatic kind of energy toward getting restaurants. I think you spoke about it in the last question about like how do you actually scale this beyond just like one dinner table that happens like because that becomes like a fairly big problem to go and get like two completely separate tables maybe happening at maybe the same restaurant or different restaurants or maybe in a different neighborhood, etc. Like what's your plan of going beyond that? Like as a company.
Yeah, I mean, I don't worry about that as much because I think similar to 1MC, the people that come to 1MC are here for a reason. So if the message is clear about the initiative and why this restaurant is hosting a meetup, I think we want people there who are excited to be there and who are ready to meet someone new, support local, and have that experience. So I think it'll grow organically rather than a push or a worry to scale it. It's not a nonprofit technically because I do believe in profit and good profit, but I don't believe that we should scale like Time Left where the mission is kind of it's a little bit not as clear. I want each meetup and each dinner to have the ultimate focus. And then I think when we run into different, filling up tables and such, that'll be a problem of its own. I believe so right now. I'm not there yet. That's my answer. Yeah.
How are you presenting the idea to the restaurants?
The restaurants, it's very simple. We say we're supporting suppers. We host just quick email, quick phone call. Yeah. Usually they say, this sounds amazing. Send me an email. I send them an email and they ask, when can we host one? And that's that because they have control over the menu, the experience. I have a lot of time. And from there, it's just getting people to come to the table.
I have another question.
Yep.
So in terms of people coming to the restaurant and when you're thinking about future profitability, are you routing the payment for the restaurant since it's a prefix menu through this, or are people paying individually? Like how the mechanics of payment work and how are you taking the cut?
Yeah, we process payment on our end. That's where I just see it most streamlined. And then we could make sure that we have the roster set fill. And then that restaurant understands that this is a paid dinner. They're not stressing in any way. We want to make it as seamless for a restaurateur as possible. We do not want to come in and disrupt their process. We just want to add a couple new paths for new customers and local discovery. And a lot of, the restaurant people ask, like, how do you pick the restaurants, like things like that. Luckily, we have a great community and we have a lot of friends who are already recommending restaurants. So I think that is also something I need to work on in terms of what restaurant lists, what cuisine, and kind of getting more info on that. Last one, yeah.
Sorry.
There you go.
So are they paying to have this happen at the restaurant?
Nope, only the guests pay. So we take a small percentage of each set menu price. So say the menu was like $35, we might take $5, right? So it's not really a non-for-profit, but just starting small. Yeah.
They do have Illinois benefit corporations that are mission driven as well. So,
that's where I think, like, if anyone has expertise in a couple of these other realms of revenue, I've seen it done before, and a lot of IRL organizations are just hosting a lot of sponsored events now. But I'd love to see if we could support local. So.
Yeah, a nonprofit entity is just a tax status.
Yeah.
So, there are ways to still be a mission-driven organization and still create a profit. But again, your branding is really going to encompass that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah. Adenola?
No. Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, definitely want to be in line for the grants portion of it, and want to be able to receive grants if that's of interest. FYI, if you guys are not looking at grants, I get grants sent to me all the time by bankers. There's so much resources to be deployed, and please look into that if you are looking for funding. Cool. Thank you.
All right.
There we go.
thank you.
All right. Thank you. For folks who just popped in, please make sure you register before you leave. Are there any events that are going on this week? Free events that people want to share with the community? Yes.
Yes, today at 5:30 p.m. at Pyramid Stewards Lakeview, we are having an AG protocol meetup and open social media. You can find more information on the website https://chicago.at.
All right. Yes.
So there's, it's not technically this week, it's next week, Tuesday.
Yep.
On 1st of September at 7 p.m. at the Mustache. I'm hosting a game show that's supposed to simulate what it's like to get a job and go through the entire job interview process. It's very audience participation based, where the contestants are going to become the audience member votes who gets to go on to the next stage, and then there's an actual mock fun interview at the end. Let me know if you want more details about that. Sure, just come to me if you want the link for that. It's on the but I'm here after this event ends, so I'm leaving that. Thanks.
Awesome. Yes.
Today there is a ping pong bar event at Lincoln Loop at 6:30. If anyone is interested in ping pong, there's 30 people going, and we're trying to get that closer to 40 or 50. Let me know if you're interested in that. And then there's also a sports night tomorrow. There's a sports night. Sports. So
Yes.
So I am working on Gen2 AI. We are pre-founding, but I am looking for small business entrepreneurs that we can get involved in finding solutions like that one there, like the one that was presented today. So if anybody is looking for a tech stack or has the tech stack they have is not sufficient, talk to who we partner on.
Okay. I have one last request, and 1 Million Cups is really about community. And I have a special friend who has suffered a devastating health condition as of late. And so I have this pink poster board here. If you can just write her an encouraging word, I'd like to deliver this to her at the hospital. You don't have to know her, just saying that people are cheering for her in hopes that she gets better soon. So just drop by. There's some stickers and some markers here. And write an encouraging word, if you will. And with that, we'll have Chris come up. Everyone give a standing ovation for Chris. I'm going to give you that.
Just like here.
Yeah. And it's just for the recording. Here we are going to.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here this morning. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to listen to me.
Can you
And
speak just a little louder for the people in the
yeah,
back?
I appreciate you guys taking the time out to listen to me. But yeah, my company is called Transit Shy. And yeah, this tagline is like a year old. So it says building a safer transit experience. Yeah, I was actually born in Nigeria, but I've lived in the city of Chicago since I was 2 years old. I've been basically a lifelong transit rider, and I've experienced pretty bad things on the train. I've also experienced pretty good things on public transportation, not just the train. And so I've always been really interested in the CTA. I used to take the CTA into the Loop. I grew up on the north side, like in Edgewater. I went to school in Edison Park, and my mom had an office in like the Hyde Park, Brownsville area for a while, and then also by Lake Meadows. And my view of Chicago was kind of expanded when I first took the Brown Line into the Loop, and ever since then I've had like a love for the CTA and kind of public transportation, a bit of a train enthusiast. So yeah, as of today, Transit Shy exists as a mobile app and fully automated CTA tracker. As you guys may know, the underlying GTFS technology is in use around the world. There's also, in like the past 2 months, I've put together an automated data analytics and content pipeline where I'm parsing the Chicago data portal and analyzing like 5 million lines of crime data to assess a threat level for the area around CTA train stations. It's a little trickier for buses because, you know, there's like a bus stop every 2 blocks. So there's no way to really like set a set location. And then I recently learned about HPC, was fortunate enough to go to an HPC bootcamp, have access to like a supercomputer. So I'm planning on adding deep learning and AI assisted predictions based on public data, including crime data and actual train arrival time, bus and train arrival times and stuff like that. And yeah, so this is kind of my story. You know, I used to use the bus tracker a lot. The old bus tracker in like the 2010s, you had to choose a route, choose a direction, and then a cross street. I think since then, Ventra has updated it, and there's also like Google Maps and other things. And then obviously, I'm very aware of the other app called Transit. It's a lot larger. They have they're utilizing GTFS as well, and they have multiple cities around the country and the world. But my idea for Transit Shy is like a little deeper of a connection. I kind of want to improve the daily lives of CTA riders and try to offer different features that would be helpful. Also for safety, parents with kids in CPS, people at basketball teams. I used to play basketball at Lincoln, or I tried out for the basketball team at Lincoln Park. And so we used to get out of tryouts at like maybe like 7 or 8 p.m. People would go to all different areas of the city, and you know, sometimes bad things can happen on the train. So if you like have a sports team, you can sign them up, get accounts for all of them, just make sure they're getting home okay. If you have children, things like that. And yeah, so the challenges are convenience. You know, most public transportation software only works while you're planning a ride. The way I envision Transit Shy, you just press a button and you can see whatever's around you at like any given moment. That's kind of how my brain works, just because I've been in Chicago so long. So I know I can take a bus west and then go north or south, or I could take a bus south or north and then go east or west. So if I just know what's around me at a moment's notice, that's a little easier for me. Peace of mind, sending a loved one into the world is difficult. You can't always be there, but with Transit Shy, you can kind of simulate that a bit better. People can share their location on their phone, but in terms of like keeping track of the vehicle data, exactly what's going on, and then if there's other users on the system and they're reporting types of hazards around, that could be pretty helpful. And then, yeah, safety. Public transportation is unpredictable. You know, something bad doesn't happen every time, but when it does, it can be pretty scary, especially if you're like in an enclosed area. Groups of people can take over trains, buses, bus stops and stuff like that. And it's not always like, it's not always like the easiest thing to deal with like by yourself. So yeah, how we can help. I think that the automated functionality kind of gives a different feel of using a bus tracker. Again, you just press a button, you see what's around you, you decide which route you're going to take. I plan on adding trip planning and routing features in the near future. I'm kind of just focused on making sure that everything works as it is, and then kind of iterating a lot faster in this next year or so to try and add all those different features. Peace of mind, when you board a ride and the ride stops, it prompts you to send a text message to one of your contacts on the phone. I'm looking into updating that to actually automating the text being sent if you do opt into that feature, or using some other type of communication to allow people, parents and like other people to see exactly where you're at. And then safety. Since adding the data portal pipeline, I'm already assessing a threat level for certain stations based on season and time of day. I'm looking to kind of refine that and just kind of use the real-time data that gets updated every week to just kind of do that and trying to help people out, make suggestions for different routes, especially based on time. Like, you know, if you get on the red line at 2 a.m., you might want to take a bus, like simple suggestions like that. And then, yeah, let me see. This is my team. It's mostly me. My friend Ugo is in Baltimore. He works in tech. I'm not sure exactly what he does, but that's like one of the first cities I plan on expanding to after kind of like, you know, getting done with like the proof of concept in Chicago. This is actually my cousin Alex. He's in Chicago. He also works in tech. I have no idea what he does at this point either. But whenever I finish, I do send him kind of the app, and he gives me like UI advice and tells me what he thinks should be happening. And so I've been kind of bouncing ideas off of him for a while. I think I missed this in an earlier slide, but I originally started the app as a web application. I might be on the next slide. Hold on, let me see. Oh wait, sorry. Yeah, so I originally envisioned the app as a web application. I didn't have full coverage because at the time the CTA API was a little buggy. You couldn't get all of the bus stops. I got laid off from an AI startup in 2024. After being laid up, I actually scraped all of the bus stops in Chicago by myself and got the GPS coordinates for it and made my own data set. Soon after, the CTA actually fixed that endpoint, so now it's a lot easier. I had to rewrite the script for that. And yeah, so now I have full coverage of the city. I decided to turn it into a mobile application and then added the data pipelines, and I have plans to do machine learning and things like that. And
Chris, how can we help?
okay, sorry. Yeah, so how you guys can help is if you install the app today and try it out, I would really appreciate it. If you can tell a friend, acquaintance, or family member, the people that I'm looking for, family members, coworkers, domestic partners, teammates, students, or friends. If you can give me your contact information, I can add you to beta testing lists for new features. That would be really helpful. You can always give me money towards cloud fees. I would really appreciate that. If you have an application or a service yourself, you can let me integrate your data into the application. And I'm also interested in advertising part sponsors. I have like, you know, as anyone, there's a lot of ad space possibilities. I'm still kind of trying to figure out where I'm going to do with the pricing model, whether it's going to be like a nonprofit or a for-profit company, a C corporation or stuff like that. As of now, it's just a sole proprietorship. I'm honestly not even registered business-wise. Please don't register the name. But either way, yeah, anything, honestly, just downloading the app would be a huge help. I forgot to put a QR code, but I have stickers, so I'll just kind of drop some of these off at all the tables. And the app is in, the original version is in the App Store now. And then I'm waiting, the update is actually in review. So hopefully in the next week or so, it'll be reviewed, and yep, that's about it.
All right. All right. You all, Dan had the first question. We'll wait till Chris comes back up.
Sorry about that. I just wanted
No. Thank you for distributing merch. Dan.
Great presentation, Chris. I think when I look at the Venture app, I see a disconnect. I'm a co-founder of a basketball app called Hooper, and it shows all the local courts and history of you being there and analytics. So I think transit in general has a lot of opportunity to be that history. I was wondering three things, if you've ever thought of carbon footprint history and impact from them riding public transit, a history tracker of how many trains or things they've taken in a year or a month, and maybe a little bit of a leaderboard at that. And then, like you said, market on the app. If someone were to advertise in the app, I'd actually reframe that into in-train or in-transit entertainment and have more immersive games, especially if you see a mom and a kid. Maybe the kid, instead of scrolling, you could just use the app, right? While he's on this magical bus. So just things like that. Have you thought about any of those, like carbon footprint or like history tracker in that sense?
Yeah, if I could I have just a little bit of data on this. Yeah, so in terms of carbon footprint, the American Public Transportation Association said that, oh, sorry, I actually took that off, but I think it was like 6 million gallons of gas was saved by people taking public transportation in 2025. There was apparently 8.07 billion trips around the nation in 2025, and that also 87% of trips on transit directly benefit the local economy. So I think there is some sustainability, like, benefits of taking public transportation and kind of streamlining the system and making it a safer experience for everyone. And then in terms of in-transit entertainment, that's something I would really be interested in. The company was an AI startup and like partially a streaming company, so I've worked a lot with video and games and stuff like that. So I'd definitely be interested. And yeah, it would be cool to connect.
Yes.
Stuart Stein, I'm from Salt Lake City. I'm a member of 1 Million Cups there. So I
Thanks for
want
visiting.
to ask you a couple of questions because I think this is extremely interesting. When you use any app like this and you're in a moving vehicle, do you have connectivity issues? Because there may be bandwidth limitations because there's a lot of activity, particularly downtown and things like that. Do you have issues in terms of actually accessing the app or having full connectivity?
That's actually a great question. So in terms of physically testing the app, that's something I'm not really capable of doing too much. I am enrolled in DePaul, so I have a UPass, and I will be doing that a lot more this next year. But I do imagine there would likely be connectivity issues, especially in the subway in Chicago. I was actually just using it in the Loop, and it works surprisingly well. As long as you do have like regular phone service, whether you're using Wi-Fi or phone service, location data on your phone is like one of the most essential functions of it. So I think it's fairly reliable, and we do use location data alongside the CTA APIs. So if for some reason Signal, like you can't get messages back and forth from the CTA API, that's the only thing I foresee being an issue, and then also the subway.
Okay, well, that may be something you need to address. My second question is, you mentioned about safety, and the question is, do you have ways to link your app to monitoring things on the phone? This is very important because for many years, I'm originally from Chicago. This is not the safest area, riding transit and riding trains. So you brought up the issue of safety. How will yours link to real-time safety? Is that something that you thought about?
Yeah, so that was my initial vision, is just like, let's say if I could get a base of like 1,000 riders who do take the CTA every day, and people who are willing to say like, this thing is happening at this station, having those reports, which is what's coming in the next update, is we're persisting reports on the back end, and then need to create a system to validate them and then actually like push those to riders, is basically the idea, to have a network of people who do take the trains to tell if something is happening, alongside the crime data and news stories. But it's a little trickier. So getting just the infrastructure up is my main focus with this new update, and then kind of working out all the kinks is what I'm doing next.
Yeah, see, what I'm thinking about is real time, because you would use this app, you're in the bus, and then if things go on in real time, which are of great concern, is there a way to link this app?
Yes.
Which would make it much more important and saleable to the population.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. It's just I really have to do my due diligence to prevent misuse and validate the claims. So whether that's people take a photo of what's going on, which is a little kind of strange, because let's say something bad is happening and you take a picture of the bad person, that puts you more at risk. So like kind of just there's some AI powered tools that can kind of help validate text data and stuff like that. So kind of trying to work out how that actually works is my main focus.
Well, good luck. Thank you.
How many people in this room are Waze users? How many of you use the reporting function within Waze to say that there's a pothole in the street or something like that? So I think that this is congruous to that, in the sense that you have a reporting function within the app to say that there's a predetermined set of hazards, that's happening in real time, so that people will be able to get that data as they need it without introducing bias and without putting a person at harm in terms of taking a picture and so on and so forth.
There's already a citizen app you can probably link up to that does exactly
Yeah.
that for it.
Yeah, Citizen and Nextdoor are two that I'm familiar with, but I don't necessarily want to make it a public forum where people are posting complaints, because I feel like that encourages misuse as
Yes.
opposed to like just keeping it more personal. So like it's not really social media. Like you will be able to see like the count of other people's hazard reports, but I'm not going to make like a list of just complaints, because I don't feel like that's fair, honestly. Like
I think that's right.
Is Venture Chicago's transit app? Like, does Chicago have a transit app?
Yes.
yeah, they do, and they actually added real-time features of somewhat in the time frame for which I started, but it's still not exactly this. You can't like make any reports or anything like that. And yeah, there's some other like kind of, I call them enrichment features that I hope to add that will kind of give it like added value for people who do take the CTA regularly.
Well, I asked because I'm like, I know Venture has that app, and I've seen it. I don't use it because I haven't found it very effective. I use the transit app still because I enjoy it more. It's easier to pick a location, pick a destination, and get your route options and everything within that. What you brought up as far as I was born in Chicago, but I didn't grow up. I grew up in North Texas. Well, we don't have a good public transportation system, but because of how Chicago built me and raised me, I started out anyway, and so I got value from it, but I also got a really good connection with my city because of it. I was outside. The same thing has been happening since I've been back here. I very quickly got an understanding of Chicago and the grid because of public transportation. I ride my bike, I use public transportation. And so one of the things I've gotten better at is being in a place and being able to look right, look left, and know, okay, I need to go this direction, get this way, this direction, get this way. But I was recently having a conversation with people that were recently relocated here, who also had grown up here, who had some idea of the grid, but didn't know, didn't have their bearings straight. So my mother always said, she would come back, getting her bearings straight. But my point is, that specific thing you just talked about, the ability to be in a place and look around and know where to go from where you're at based off landmark, I think is so valuable. And then, like I said, the real-time tracking, there is the transit app, but specifically from the Chicago lens you're talking about, I don't think there's any app that is city-specific. Even in Denver, we didn't have the public transportation.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia, I know there's a city on the East Coast that has a similar thing, and that's the only other one I think that I've heard of.
I'm thinking about it, that's the value, the reason the last piece that I brought up is, we're talking about scaling like Boston and other metro cities. I would wonder if the transit name thing would get confusing, because at a certain point, you probably couldn't be transit shy anymore. Because it would no longer be transit shy. But transit shy as an idea on its own is great for that same reason that it's city specific. So you got an interesting balance there and great opportunity for folks to solve that problem in that way. But also get this thing like, there's so much there. You got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm just for the record, I'm anticipating a name change, like if I am able to get usership and like funding and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm hoping to scale and kind of validate in Chicago and then move on to other cities.
All right, one more, CJ.
I was gonna say, that's great advice, but also be careful with the naming. You probably want to work with the city, because the city sued so many people to not use Chicago itself, including most famously CTA, Chicago band. Literally, it was gonna be called CTA, and Chicago sued them. So that was years ago. Chicago very litigated. So yeah, err on the side of caution when you're going that route.
Oh, thank you for the advice.
It's a public-private partnership. I don't know how much you thought about that. Yeah, I don't know if there's a Chicago app that's other than Venture, but I'm sure it would promote more public transportation taking, and it would indeed make it safer. I don't see any reason that Mayor Johnson wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm completely open to like public funding, grant money and stuff like that. I really, I'm more technical. So in terms of the business side, I do desperately need help on that end. So if anyone would be willing to offer services, has any advice in that area, I would really appreciate it.
All right, that's time. That's 1 Million Cuts for today. We'll be hanging around here for a little bit. There's still time to ask Dan and Chris questions personally. I'll take that back, please. Thank you.
Gotta get some more mugs.
Yes, we do have to get more mugs. Yes.
You can hold this up.
All right. We present our presenters with these fancy orange mugs for coming to tell us their stories. So if you want to be in the orange mug gang, make sure that you fill out the application to present. I'm going to pull that back up. There we go. Or come talk to one of us. Thank you again. Feel free to hang out for co-working and chatting, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Good seeing you too. Yes. Yes. Crystal, 1 second. I need to. Nice meeting you too.